Hey there, welcome back. So in this particular lecture or session, we are going to talk about OpenFeign. And if you're not aware, this particular video is a part of a series. And if you want to watch the previous videos, I would highly recommend doing so, because if you're new to this channel or watching my videos for the first time, then I highly recommend that you watch the earlier videos to get a sense or some context as to what the source code that we have currently means. So if you're interested in doing so, you should check out the description to get the link for the entire playlist for the same. So like I said, in this particular session, we are going to talk about OpenFeign and how OpenFeign can be a game changer when it comes to inter-service communication. We are going to learn how you can make use of Feign clients to make service requests to your microservices. And we are actually going to implement everything hands-on. So by the end of this session, you will have a practical knowledge of how you can make use of OpenFeign to do communication between your services. So this is going to be a complete hands-on session where we will be actually doing things in a hands-on way practically. Now, if you have been watching my videos and if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, I would highly recommend doing so, because every subscriber or every subscription that I get on my channel motivates me to bring in more such amazing content for you all. The support and love that I get from my viewers impacts my ability to bring in more such amazing free content for you all. So I would highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button, like this particular video, and turn on the bell notifications. Also feel free to leave a comment to let me know what kind of videos I should bring for you all. Now, without a further ado, let's jump right into the session. Hey there, welcome back. So let us start talking about OpenFeign. So what is OpenFeign and why should we use it? So Feign is a declarative web service client that is designed to make writing HTTP clients easier. Now, what does this mean? So to make regular HTTP requests in an application, you might have to deal with a lot of boilerplate code. Okay, so for example, we have a microservice, and in order to call another microservice, we need to do an HTTP request because we'll be making use of HTTP protocol. So in that scenario, you will be using REST template. Now the thing about REST template is there is a lot of boilerplate code that you need to write again and again. For example, this is what the source code for doing a simple call to another microservice looks like. So here you are making use of REST template object, and you're making use of this method, and you're saying get for object, and you're passing in the URL. Now you have also passed in some parameters, like you are expecting the response to be masked or wrapped into this particular class object. Okay, so the return type that you will get will be a company object here. Now the thing is, if you have to make multiple connections, you need to write a lot of boilerplate code, and you need to make connection, you need to handle retry by yourself, you need to process the responses and so on. Now, what does Feign do is it abstracts all these away and allows you to write HTTP requests as if they were simple method calls. So without Feign, this is the source code. And if you integrate OpenFeign into your project and start using it, this is what this line of code will become. So now here you have a client created, and you are just saying get company, and you have passed in this parameter. So this is like a normal method call that you are doing. And in the background, OpenFeign will do the job of communicating to the microservice and retrieving the company object and giving it to you. So it becomes much more easy, and you don't have to deal with like a lot of stuff. A lot of boilerplate code is reduced, and also you don't have to type in the URLs again and again. So everything is now managed in the company client over here. So this is how OpenFeign makes your life easier whenever you are making use of different web services. Now, why use OpenFeign? So the number one reason is easy to use. So Feign simplifies HTTP API calls by creating a sort of proxy, and then it implements HTTP requests behind the scenes. So all of this is abstracted from you, and it just makes things look a lot more easier than you would be doing the normal way. Another benefit is integration with Eureka. So just like REST template, Feign can seamlessly integrate with Eureka for service discovery. Then we have built-in load balancing with Ribbon. So OpenFeign has built-in support for Ribbon, which is another Netflix project, and this provides the client-side load balancing. Okay. The next benefit is support for fallbacks and circuit breakers. So with Feign, you can easily integrate Hystrix, which is another Netflix project, and this project can provide fallback options and circuit breaking capabilities. So this is the reason why you should use OpenFeign. Now let us compare Feign and REST template. So Feign and REST template both serve the same purpose, and they both do the job of simplifying HTTP requests in the Spring application. But they do so in slightly different ways. So REST template, for example, is older, more traditional way of making HTTP requests. It is robust and flexible solution, and it does offer a lot of control, but it can also lead to a lot of verbose code, especially when you're dealing with complex requests. So this is a very simple request that we have done over here, but if you're dealing with a complex request, the code with REST template can go a lot more verbose and cumbersome. Now, on the other hand, you have Feign over here, wherein you have written some code using OpenFeign. And Feign is a modern solution that takes a different approach. And instead of creating a template that you fill in with specific, Feign creates a proxy based on an interface you define. And this results in very clean and simple code. So it may not offer the same level of control for complex scenarios as REST template, but still it's a really good choice for modern web applications. So this is about OpenFeign and REST template. Also, I wanted to mention that OpenFeign is also developed by Netflix, and then it was later included in the Spring Cloud family of projects. So that's about OpenFeign. Thank you. Welcome back. So let us enable Feign clients in our microservices project. So I'm going to head over to the project structure, and I'll head over to job service implementation class. Now over here, we are making use of REST template over here. So we need to make use, and we may need to replace these calls to microservices with the help of Feign clients. So for that, we will need to add a dependency into our project. And to add the dependency, let us head over to our favorite website. So I'll say start.spring.io. Now here in the dependency section, I'm going to say add dependency. So you can search for OpenFeign over here, and you're going to see this option come in, and you have to select. So you can read over here that Feign is a declarative REST client, and it creates a dynamic implementation of the interface that is decorated. Okay. So what I will do is I'll go to explore. Okay, so this is the Gradle dependency that has been added. I'll change to Maven, and I'll go to explore. Now we have the Maven pom.xml. So what I will do is I'll copy this entire thing, and I'll switch over to my project, and within jobs microservice, I'll head over to pom.xml here, and here somewhere in the dependency section, I'll just add this dependency that I have copied. So I have this dependency in, and whenever you make any changes to pom.xml, we need to reload the Maven changes. So I'll hit reload, and Maven changes are being resolved. So you can see resolving dependencies of the project. So this is done. Now what we need to do is we need to enable OpenFeign, and we need to tell Spring Boot that we need to enable Feign clients in our application. So for that, we'll head over to our main application file, which is job ms application. Here you will find this annotation Spring Boot application. So just before this or just after this, you can add this annotation called enable Feign clients, and you can add this. So you can see this import statement will be added in the import list, and this annotation will tell your application that, hey, we are making use of Feign clients, so please enable them. Now what we can do is we can start defining Feign clients. So if you head over to job service implementation, here we have two API requests that we are doing. One is to company service and another one is to review service. So we can replace these calls with the help of REST template. So these calls are being done as of now with the help of REST template. So we can replace these calls that are being done with the help of REST template, and we can make use of OpenFeign here. So I'll go over here and I'll create a new package. So I'll say new and I'll say package, and I'll call this package as clients. So we are going to have clients defined over here. Now the number one client that we need is company client. So I'll say company client, and we need to declare this as an interface. So just make sure you select interface over here, and I'll say enter. Now here in company client, I have an interface declaration. So I need to add an annotation. So I need to say Feign. So you can see this annotation come in Feign client. So this annotation tells Spring Boot that this is a Feign client, and then here as a parameter you can say name, and the name of the service is what you can specify over here. So I'll say company service, like so. So this is defined. Now over here, what I need to do is I need to create a method. Okay, so I need to declare a method. So I'll say get company. So here, if you go to the implementation class, here we are making an API call to this particular URL, and we are getting the company object as the response, right? So we need to create a method. We need to say get company, and this method will take a parameter because our API takes one parameter, which is the company ID, right? So whatever dynamic parameter we are passing in the API becomes the parameter of the method, and whatever is the return type of this API becomes the return type of the method. So here I'll say get company, and I'll say long ID, like so. Okay, and this method will return company object, like so. Okay, so this is done. Now we need to specify the URL as well over here. Okay, so what kind of request should this client do to this particular microservice or this particular service, company service? So we need to say get mapping. So here we are creating mappings, and I need to specify the URL over here. So I'll say companies / I'll say ID. Okay, so this is a structure. We have companies / ID over here, right? So we have added the same thing over here. Now ID we have added into curly braces, and this is because that it will be dynamic. And how do we tell like from where we are getting this ID? So we will be getting this ID from path variable, like so. Okay, you can even specify the name over here of the parameter, which I'll do. So yeah, so this is the entire definition of the interface. So we have defined an interface which will do the API calls for us, and it will make use of OpenFeign. All right. So this is what you need to do. If you need multiple services, or if you need to call multiple URLs from this particular service, you need to add multiple methods, and you need to specify the mapping and the method over here. All right. So that is what you need to do, and the job will be done. So we have now defined company client. So we can go to the implementation class, And now what I can do is I can simply remove this entire thing. Okay. And I need to say company client dot, I need to say get company. So get company is the method that we created. And here I need to say job dot get company ID. So this is what we need to do. But the question is, from where do we get the company client? So to get the company client, what we need to do is we need to create an object of company client. And that is something that we can do over here. So here I can say private company client, like so. And I've created an object of company client, and I can add this over here. So I can say company client, like so, and this dot company client, like so. We have created an object of company client and the error is gone. Now we need to do the same for the review service as well. So what I will do is I'll create one more interface here, and I'll call this interface as review client. So I'll say review client, and I'll mark this as an interface. Now here I'll say, so I'll add similar things as to what I have added over here. Okay, so I'll copy this first annotation and I'll add it over here. Okay, now instead of company service, this is review service, like so. And here we have this particular method, and I'll come over here and I'll add this over here. Now there are some changes that we need to do depending on which API we are calling. So we are calling the reviews API / reviews. So in the end, like after the host name, we are passing in reviews. So the path is reviews, and then we have company ID, which is going in as a request parameter. So what we can do is we can say / reviews, and here instead of path variable, we can have request parameter, and this request parameter can be company ID, like so. And here I can say company ID, like so. Okay. Now this will be get reviews. Okay. And this will return a list which is of reviews type. Okay. Like so. So yeah, so we have created an interface which is review client. It talks to review service, and we have created a get mapping which accepts a request parameter called company ID. And what is the output of this method? We get a list of all the reviews that belong to a particular company. All right, so this is done. Now in a similar way to company client, we need to create an object of this particular interface. So we'll say private review client, and I'll create an object here, and here I'll say review client. Okay, like so. And here I'll assign this. So I'll say this dot review client. So we are done doing this, and now here what we can do is we can just do away with this entire thing. Okay, and I can simply say, so list of review, and here I'll say reviews is equal to review client dot get reviews, and here I can say job dot get company ID, like so. Okay, so this is done, and we can do away with this as well. Okay, so you can see like how we have simplified this particular thing. Okay, and like it's the code has reduced considerably. Okay, and we are relying now on the Feign clients which we have created, which are interfaces, and they will do the job of calling the REST API on our behalf. So let us test this, and what we can do is we can rerun the job application. So I'll rerun this, and let us wait for it to get started. So now our application is started, and let us head over to Postman here. So I'll open Postman, and here let us try calling jobs. So you will get an empty array. Let us create a job. So job is created successfully. Now let us try getting all the jobs, and you can see we are getting all the jobs along with the reviews. So reviews and ratings already exist, okay, because they've already created, and we just created a job, and we can see like the communication happening properly. Okay, now there are a few things that you need to make a note of. Okay, so if you go over here and if you go to app config, we had created app config class in the earlier sections. Okay, and we had defined app config when we were planning to make use of REST template. And the reason we had defined this because we needed a load balanced version of REST template. And that is because we were not able to work with or get this working with these service names. Okay. Now with OpenFeign, you must have noticed we have not added any load balance annotation or any such thing. So we have simply created the interface. We have specified the microservices name and everything, the URL as well, and also all the parameters, and we are done. So we don't need to like define all of this with OpenFeign. Okay, and as for REST template, like we can get rid of this bean now. Okay, so this is a bean that we had defined, and we can simply remove this bean entirely if we are moving to OpenFeign entirely. Okay, so this won't be needed. You can keep this only if you are using this in the other parts of the application where you are not ready to replace those API calls with OpenFeign yet. Okay, then we can keep this REST template bean. And remember that Feign provides a more high-level way to call HTTP services, and it includes things like automatic JSON conversion, error handling, and more. Okay, now OpenFeign, as you have noticed, also reduces a lot of boilerplate code that we were earlier writing, and it makes the code easier to read and even maintain. Okay, so here we had hard-coded the URLs. Right now, imagine now if any company service or any name changes. Okay, so this name changes from company service to something else. So you have to just make change at one place. It's organized. You have all the clients defined in the package. Okay, so it's easier to maintain, and that's why many developers in the microservices world prefer using OpenFeign when they work with microservices. Okay, also keep in mind the load balance annotation is not used with Feign clients. Client-side load balancing is done automatically with OpenFeign. And when you use the Feign client annotation, okay, it takes care of the load balancing for you. Okay, now Feign or OpenFeign under the hood uses ribbon. Now, what is ribbon? So ribbon is also used by REST template when you annotate it with load balanced. Okay, and it is being used to function properly. So in app config, when we said load balanced, it was like we had ribbon being used internally. Okay, so that is why when you switch to OpenFeign, you don't need in fact REST template bean with the load balanced annotation anymore, because the Feign clients are load balanced and it handles everything for you automatically. So that's about OpenFeign and how can you implement it in your project.